After age 65, 99 deaths come from these 5 causes. How to prevent to live longer and healthier. Dear uncles and aunts, have you ever wondered how long you will live? It sounds a bit sad, but it is something that everyone will have to face. The older you get, the weaker your health. The aches and pains last longer. Sleep is no longer good. You can only walk a short distance. And you feel out of breath. Sometimes you are healthy and suddenly collapse. Just yesterday you were talking. Today you can't see each other. Dear uncles and aunts, how many people have passed away when they were only over 60 or over 70, but they could have lived much longer? Not because of fate, but because they don't know that there are signs that seem small but are warnings of the human body. People say that life and death are predestined, but living well or dying early sometimes lies in your own hands. Do you believe it? Actually, our body always speaks up. Before something bad happens, fleeting pains, small changes in daily activities are all signs. But because of being subjective, because we think that old age is normal for illness, we just let it pass, and then when the disease becomes serious, we are startled. So what are the signs that after the age of 65, you should definitely not ignore? If the body is sending a signal, you must listen immediately, because that could be the last chance for us to prevent illness, maintain health, and prolong life. Today I will share the 5 most important signs. If you see yourself or a loved one has one of them, don't hesitate to go for a health check immediately, because if you detect it early, you can avoid unfortunate things from happening. So 5, what are those signs? Are you having them? Follow closely right after this. The first sign: chest pain, shortness of breath, a warning signal for a strong heart. Have you ever felt chest pain, shortness of breath, and an unusually strong heartbeat, but then thought it was probably because you worked too much, or maybe it was because the weather changed? Then you just let it pass without worrying too much, because I find that resting a little bit helps. But my uncles and aunts, there are pains that are not normal for old age, but are warnings of the heart silently calling for help. There are many people who still go to the market in the morning, take their grandchildren to school, laugh and talk happily, but just a few hours later they have to be hospitalized because of a sudden myocardial infarction. Some people are lucky to survive, but there are also people who no longer have the chance to return to their families. And the most regrettable thing is that before the incident happened, their bodies had signaled, but they did not pay attention. Have you noticed that? I often have chest pain when climbing stairs, carrying heavy objects, or even just walking a short distance, and I feel short of breath. If the heart beats fast, sometimes skips a beat, sometimes feels like it is being pressed down on the chest, then don't ignore it. It could be a sign of myocardial ischemia, atherosclerosis, or more dangerously, an approaching myocardial infarction. I know many uncles and aunts often have the mentality of being afraid to go to the doctor, afraid of disturbing their children or grandchildren, or think that it's okay to get old and have a little pain. But no one can take care of your health and your life. If you see any unusual signs in your heart, go get checked immediately. Don't hesitate, because just a minute of delay, sometimes you have to pay the price of a lifetime. If you find this information useful, please share it with your friends and relatives, because who knows, just a reminder can save a life. The second sign is a persistent cough, difficulty breathing, a warning from the lungs. Dear uncle, have you ever had a persistent cough? For weeks, you took medicine, but it didn't go away. Then you told yourself it was probably the weather. You probably had a sore throat. Well, or pretend. Then coughing a little is normal. But uncle, having a cough is not just a small matter, but the first sign of dangerous lung diseases. Many people, when they discover they have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, severe pneumonia, COPD, even lung cancer, regret it because they had symptoms before but didn't go to the doctor early. At first it was just a dry cough, then gradually coughed up phlegm, then sometimes had difficulty breathing when exercising, even had phlegm mixed with blood, but still thought it was due to the flu or a common sore throat, until when going to the doctor said the disease had entered a severe stage. There was not much chance for treatment anymore. Did you know that your lungs are very resilient? But once they are damaged, the recovery process is very slow. Every day we are exposed to dust, polluted air, difficult cooking, cigarette smoke. Those things do not affect immediately, but it silently tells the lungs to weaken day by day, and when you feel your breathing getting heavier, You have to sleep with a high pillow to breathe easily. Every time you do heavy work, you feel tight in the chest. That is a sign that your lungs are no longer strong enough. So if you or a relative has a cough lasting more than 3 weeks accompanied by difficulty breathing, wheezing, and wheezing, it is a sign that your lungs are no longer strong enough. So if you or a relative has a cough that lasts more than 3 weeks, accompanied by difficulty breathing, wheezing, and wheezing, it is a sign that your lungs are no longer strong enough. Just don't hesitate to go get checked right away because one examination can save you from a dangerous disease. Don't let breathing become a difficult thing. If you find this information useful, please share it with your friends and relatives because you might be helping someone detect the disease early and keep their health. Their precious third sign, suddenly confused limbs, numb signal of a stroke. Dear uncle, have you ever suddenly forgotten what you were doing? Or while talking suddenly couldn't find the words to express? Have you ever held chopsticks in a cup of water but felt your hand weaken? Not holding it firmly and dropping it without knowing why, or sometimes standing up to walk, but suddenly felt unsteady and lost balance. Had to hold onto the wall or sit down immediately because of fear of falling. Uncle, these signs are not just due to old age, but can be an early warning of an impending stroke. Many people think that a stroke is unexpected. It is not surprising, but in fact, before a stroke actually occurs, the brain has already sent a signal long before. It is only a matter of whether we realize it or not. What is a stroke? It is when a blood vessel to the brain is blocked or ruptured, causing the brain to not receive oxygen and die gradually within minutes. If not treated promptly, the patient may be paralyzed for life, lose the ability to speak, or even never wake up. The most heartbreaking thing is that many strokes can be avoided. If you detect it early, remember the 3 important signs of a stroke: a distorted face, a crooked arm, a dislocated arm, a sudden weakness in the legs, unable to lift it, difficulty speaking, stuttering, and unclear pronunciation. If you have one of these signs, do not wait to see if it gets better. Because time is life. Call an ambulance immediately. Because if you are just a few minutes late, the consequences may be irreversible. Strokes do not only happen to the elderly, but also to people in their 50s and even 40s. Can also be, so don't be subjective. If you find this information useful, please share it with your children and friends so that everyone knows how to recognize the signs of a stroke and can save themselves or their loved ones when necessary. The 4th sign is rapid weight loss, changes in digestive habits, warning signs of cancer. Have you ever seen your weight drop quickly without knowing why? Not dieting, not exercising more, but in just a few months, you have lost 3 to 5 kilograms or even more than before. You may think that it is due to poor diet due to old age, but don't be subjective. Rapid weight loss without knowing why. The cause is one of the first signs of many dangerous cancers such as liver cancer, stomach, colon, pancreas, lung. Not only weight loss, sometimes you also feel a loss of appetite or fullness, indigestion. Sometimes there is a dull pain in the abdomen, back, or chest, but then thinking that it is just a digestive disorder or age causes many people because of subjectivity, just taking digestive medicine carelessly and then letting it go until they go to the doctor. The disease is already in the late stages. Then it is too late to regret. Please pay attention to see if you have frequent constipation or prolonged diarrhea. Do not see dark black stools. Go to the toilet with blood. This could be a sign of colon cancer, stomach cancer that many people ignore, or sometimes when eating, feel choking and difficulty swallowing. It could be a sign of esophageal cancer. Doctor, cancer does not happen in one day, but develops silently for many years. The body is always signaling. It is just whether you recognize it or not. If detected early, many types cancer can be cured, but if left too late, the chance is almost gone. So if you find yourself losing weight for no apparent reason, poor digestion, abnormal prolonged abdominal pain, don't just postpone it. Go see a doctor immediately, because sometimes a checkup can help you prolong your life by 10 to 20 years. Health is the most valuable asset that is lost with money, so don't wait until it's too late. If you find this information useful, save it to remind yourself and tell your children and grandchildren so they can pay more attention to your health. The 5th sign is dizziness, easy to fall, risk of disability or death. Dear uncle, have you ever been walking around the house and suddenly felt dizzy and had to quickly hold onto the wall or sit down? Have you ever stood up from a chair and felt dark and unsteady, almost falling? If you have ever experienced this feeling, you absolutely should not take it lightly. Many people think that dizziness, loss of balance, is normal, usually of old age, but in fact this can be a sign of low blood pressure, vertigo disorder, or more dangerous, is a transient stroke, especially if dizziness is accompanied by severe headache, eyes open, ringing in the ears. You need to go for a checkup immediately because it is very possible that the brain is lacking oxygen, signaling the risk of stroke or impaired cerebral circulation. But not only that, dizziness and staggering are also the leading cause of falls in the elderly. Do you know that many elderly people do not die from illness or from a single fall? Falling and breaking the femur, lying in bed, the body weakens rapidly, unable to function independently, gradually losing the will to live. Some people die just a few months after a fall. So do not wait until you or a loved one falls before worrying. If you feel dizzy, lose balance, get weaker in limbs, stand up and sit down, or feel dizzy, you need to go for a health checkup immediately to detect the cause and have a timely treatment. Have you ever witnessed someone fall and could not recover, or have you experienced a fall that still haunts you? Share your story so that everyone can learn from it, and more importantly, remind your elderly relatives to be more careful when traveling, because sometimes just one wrong step can change your whole life. Dear uncles and aunts, we often think that illness is a matter of fate. When we get old, we naturally get it. But the truth is not like that. The body always has a way of warning us. It's just whether we realize it or not. Many people are subjective with small signs, and then, when they discover the disease, it's too late. But uncles and aunts, knowing the signs of the disease is only a more important part than understanding the most dangerous diseases in old age to have timely prevention methods. After the age of 65, there are diseases that almost everyone is at risk of getting. But not everyone knows how to control these diseases that have robbed us of our health, even the lives of many people every year. What are the 5 most common and dangerous diseases that the elderly often have to hook? Are you accidentally facing one of them without knowing it? And most importantly, is there any way to prevent it to live healthily and long without worrying about illness? Let's find out with me right away. 5 most dangerous diseases in people over 65 years old. The first dangerous disease: cardiovascular disease, the silent killer. Dear uncles and aunts, the heart is the organ that maintains life, but it is the most vulnerable part of the body as we age. It is a sad fact that cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in people over 65 years old. Myocardial infarction, stroke, heart failure, all of these can happen suddenly. But in fact, it has been silently developing for many years before. Many uncles and aunts often say, "My heart is very healthy. I never feel pain, nor have any symptoms." But uncles and aunts, heart disease is not always signaled by severe chest pain, which sometimes is just a little tired when climbing stairs, a fleeting dizziness, or sometimes a feeling of heaviness in the chest. Simple, but they are the seeds that silently wear down the heart every day. Do you ever feel your hands and feet cold, sometimes numb, or sometimes you feel short of breath? Your heart beats fast without knowing the reason. It could be a sign that the heart is overworking and no longer pumping blood as effectively as before. Many people still think heart disease is a disease of the rich, of those who eat too much and exercise little. But in fact, there are very thin people who eat very sparingly, but still have myocardial infarctions, because heart disease does not only come from diet, but also from stress, from lifestyle, lack of control, and most importantly, because we do not pay attention to our health sooner. My dear, my heart has been beating millions of times since birth, never stopping for a minute. If one day it speaks up, it means it really needs care. Love your heart, because it is the most loyal friend that has kept us alive over the years. The second dangerous disease, lung disease, weakened lungs, health. Think. Dear uncles and aunts, we breathe more than 20,000 times a day, but have you ever wondered if your lungs are still strong enough to do that? Inhale heavily, exhale with difficulty, sometimes coughing for a long time with phlegm, sometimes with blood, sometimes even walking a short distance makes you feel out of breath. These seemingly small things are the first signs of a lung that is damaged. After the age of 65, The respiratory system is no longer as strong as before. Obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic morning sickness, COPD, pneumonia, lung cancer, all can attack silently, without warning. Many uncles and aunts just think they have a normal cough, but then the cough lasts for months and months. No matter how much medicine they take, it doesn't go away. When they go to the doctor, he says their lungs are seriously damaged and can no longer recover as before. Have you ever noticed that I often catch colds more often than before? A flu lasts a whole week, just recovered, or sometimes when it's a little cold, I cough so much that lying down makes it harder to breathe. That's because the immune system of the lungs has weakened and is no longer strong enough to fight bacteria and viruses like before. Many people still think that only smokers get lung disease, but in fact, living in an environment with a lot of smoke and dust from coal stoves and air pollution can also gradually weaken the lungs. Did you know that the lungs do not have sensory nerves, so no matter how much they are damaged, we don't feel pain until we realize it's usually too late. We can fast for a few days, but we can't hold our breath for even a minute. Healthy lungs, healthy life. Love your lungs because they are the breath, the rhythm of life that helps us enjoy many more years with our children and grandchildren. The third dangerous disease, intellectual fever when memory leaves you. Dear uncles and aunts, have you ever felt that you